Hi. Hello.
We're going to talk a little bit about AI today. And when Shara first asked me to just moderate this panel, I thought she was talking about the 2001 blockbuster by Steven Spielberg. And I was a little bit, it's my least favorite movie that he ever made because it's so sad what happened. I don't want to screw it up if you haven't seen it, but it is like over 20 years old, like what happens to the robot at the end. And to think that like 21 years later, we're now talking about how AI is revolutionizing the restaurant industry is really kind of amazing, but in many ways it's kind of a little bit frightening too. Like as a marketer, it's a little bit frightening. As a consumer, it's probably also a little bit interesting. So we're going to dive into that a little bit more today with my esteemed panel, who I'm going to let introduce themselves, and then I'll introduce myself. We'll start with Eric.
I'm Eric Houston. I'm the CFO of Ampex Brands. We are a portfolio company that owns and franchises the brands of Bella Green as well as Au Bon Pain. And then we also have a portfolio section which owns franchisee businesses under the flags of Young Brands. And then we own a AB Management Solutions, which is a third-party outsourcing and support service that does everything from back office accounting to due diligence and transaction support.
I'm Gracie Bersanson. I'm the Vice President of Sales for Jason's Deli. We're fast casual, very well known in Texas and the Southeast. We have corporate and franchise locations. Been in business for about 45 years now. So I'm excited to be here.
My name is myself Arun Vittal, founder and CEO of Skellam AI. We have been helping restaurants and other retailers through personalized marketing and customer engagement. So we have been working with some of the largest brands and most well-known brands. Recently we did a SaaS platform for helping small and medium businesses out there for personalization. Yeah.
Hey everybody, I'm Logan Hall. I lead the digital restaurant experience team at Chipotle Mexican Grill and am the managing director of robotics at Chipotle. I've been with Chipotle for about 10 years. I grew up at the organization, and prior to this current role, I led the product team that was responsible for the launch of our CRM loyalty platform.
And I'm Cece Kane. I'm a fractional CMO. I work with small brands and go into them and act as their marketing department. So we're gonna get into it really right now. So guys, everybody's talking about AI right now, but you're all using it for different purpose. So we have a really well-rounded panel today. But you didn't just wake up and say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna start an AI project. So somewhere along the line, you had to come up with, there had to be a problem you were solving for. We talk about that a lot, you know, in building tech stacks and in marketing in general and in back office stuff. There's a problem that we're trying to solve. So what was the impetus for starting an AI project, and how are you using AI within your organization now? I'll start with you, Eric.
Okay. So we're looking at AI from a couple of different aspects, which we talked about earlier, which is I oversee a couple of different functions in the organization. I don't oversee marketing, so I'm probably one non-sales and marketing person up here. But we're looking with two issues. One is that in our Au Bon Pain brand, we have a very tightly controlled customer group that goes past our restaurants every day. We're in non-traditional sites. So if you're in an airport, you're in a university, you're in downtown New York, Washington, D.C., you're in the House of Representatives, you're in the Navy Yard, that's where you're gonna find an Au Bon Pain. That's really where the business grew up and has maintained over a number of years. And so we have a different type of customer life cycle than the average brand does, and we're more of a contained. So now we have to just find ways to get people to buy stuff more frequently, and our problem was, how do we add the right selection at the right time to make sure that people like doctors in a hospital don't get tired of the food that you serve every day, right? How do we rotate that product? And really for us, finding ways to use data to solve that problem was important to us. When we look at the back office side of the business, one of the things we had a lot of challenges with, because we own, we're also larger as well. So we have over 700 restaurants across our entire portfolio. And one of the things that we were trying to figure out was how do we use the data that we have to be better at scheduling, be better at fulfillment, and be better at all the things that really a human eye can do, but you can eventually have a machine do it and not have to worry about it. So we were trying to improve productivity in our business because we're in a very, very penny profit business in the world that we live in. And so finding those pennies any place we can really drove us to something that was going to be down AI and machine learning for both aspects there.
Okay, awesome. How about you, Gracie?
You know, for us, it's all about getting our customer data and really being able to act on it. So we've had Deli Dollars, a reward program, for a very, very long time. But the only way you were really earning Deli Dollars was if you ordered online. At the time, we didn't even have an app. So, we were only getting information on primarily our catering customers who were ordering online. So looking at that, we're like, okay, how do we capture the information for all of the channels that we serve for our native channel? How do we capture all of that data on all of the customers to really be able to utilize it and make it actionable? So we definitely enrolled with Punch, and we're using them for loyalty, and they have an AI piece in their loyalty system that we're very excited about using. And then we're also looking at AI voice. We know that there's a lot of labor shortages. We know that you only have so much bandwidth from the teams in the stores, so that's another item that we're now looking at.
How about you, Logan?
So Chipotle is leveraging AI in a couple different ways, but for the area of focus that my team is over, it's really about finding opportunities for efficiencies with our crew members inside the restaurants so that they can focus on delivering on those great guest experiences or putting the time and attention into those more complex culinary tasks that require a little bit more focus and attention. So that's really where we're kind of dipping into a new realm with the robotics space and AI in that area. A little bit different, I think, to your point, we have a really good array.
You guys are all coming to it from different perspectives and totally different kinds of projects. But for Arun, I have a question. These are all obviously larger brands, and I work with teeny little brands, 2 units or less, or all the way up to my largest client is 40 units. Is there a scale that a brand has to be before they can dip their toe in the AI water?
So, where we focus in our AI solutions is primarily around marketing, loyalty, and customer engagement. So, speaking from that world, there is basically there has to be a minimum set of data being collected to understand your customer at a personalized level. And it's more about it's not a function of how many customers you have from a customer engagement or applying AI to customer engagement. It's about how much worth of data you have for each of the customers. It's like 6 months worth of data. How confident you can arrive at the customer's purchase habits based on the data. I would call it, instead of AI, I would rather call it as a data-driven intelligence. That's what my word would it be. And where we use some of the solutions with our customers is that, what is the right promotion, right personalized promotions to be given to each customer? What's the right time to be sent a promotion? How do we ensure that those promotions are relevant to the person and based on what particular journey he's in, whether he's a new customer versus active customer versus a loyal customer? How do we treat these different customers based on their RFM segments with different personalized messages? How do we ensure that the customer engagement is translating to an optimum KPI for my revenue and engagement? So this is what we have been helping our customers with. Yeah, so to answer your question, you need to have the data collected and identity resolved
That means every customer's transactions, you should know that this a person X has purchased it and this is habits. Once you have the data collected and structured, then you're ready to go. Even if you're a one store shop, if you are having the data collected, and then you're good to go. You can engage the customer with.
So even with the simplest, POS system, as long as the data is being collected and housed someplace, you guys can do something with it.
Right. So you can have two levels of personalization there. One is at the exact personalization, like know the customer one-to-one. For that, you have to have, let's say somebody's purchasing from the POS, you need to have some notion that, okay, this person is buying it. So if I come there for the second time, the POS should get that information that this person has come yesterday. It's the same person. So typically what do that, for example, if you take Toast, I know that, you have ability to ask the customer, maybe what the phone number is or email, or get the same through their loyalty program. If you have an app, that makes it easy. But once you have that, you're ready to go. And if you don't have it, then the next level of personalization is that it's a little bit more about you understand the aggregate behavior and then use the current purchase as a seed. So I know that if you want to say do a just-in-time promotion, you know that people buy coffee in the morning, typically buy breakfast sandwich. I'm just giving an example. So with that level of data, you can give an offer for breakfast sandwich to the person who's buying coffee, even if you don't have historical data of the person, but you have the aggregate level intelligence. So you can start from there.
Well, that is very good to know, especially for my small clients. So Logan, you and I have talked about Chippy a little bit offline and my love of Chippy. For those of you who don't know, Chipotle recently launched a chip-making robot.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was launched through the Chipotle Cultivate Center.
Yeah.
And so how in each of your organizations are you guys fostering innovation? And so, Logan, if you could touch on that, since it's so important, I assume, to what you're doing on a daily basis.
Absolutely. So I think that when you're talking about fostering a culture of innovation, it is definitely helpful when you have the support, like I do at Chipotle, of a leadership team that recognizes and values the role that technology and innovation plays in the broader strategy of your company's growth. But strong cultures are not built from the top down. They're built from the bottom up and the middle out. So it's really important that when you're talking about building a culture of innovation, that you're doing so with cross-functional partners. So even though I sit in the technology vertical, digital product sits in the technology vertical at Chipotle, I'm not making decisions unilaterally for operations, for culinary. We're bringing all of those partners to the table to have the right conversations about what the challenges are that we're facing. And we're making sure that we put what's most important to us at the center of the conversation about the experience we're trying to deliver. So for Chipotle, that's the food and that's the people. So when we think about Chippy, for example, the first and primary challenge that we faced with Chippy before anything else was, can this thing make great Chipotle chips? Not just great chips, but great Chipotle chips. We brought in ops, we brought in culinary, we brought them to the table as stakeholders in the ultimate outcome there. And when they saw their feedback and when they saw their input being translated into something tangible and something physical, that started to develop that trust as well. So I don't think that you can have a culture of innovation without a culture of cross-functional trust, because technology can be daunting, it can be intimidating, and it can be downright threatening to some folks who may not understand that it's there to help and not replace. So I think that those are critical, as well as celebrating successes along the way. So not falling into that trap of thinking that the job is done, but making sure that you celebrate the wins along the way and have the courage to stop doing the things that aren't working, and to really double down on the things that are, but knowing that you've got to continue to learn and grow and make changes as you learn.
Awesome. How about you, Gracie?
You know, I would say in the restaurant space, we have had so much change over the last couple years. So really getting out there and understanding what all is available to you and bringing in the key stakeholders, much like she was saying, you know, bring in the C-suite, get your operations partners involved. You only know what you know. So taking the opportunity to really bring everybody up to speed on what is available in today's market, I think is your very first step. And then getting a really good understanding of what problem you're trying to solve and where you want to be today and where you want to be 5, 10 years down the road, so that you partner with the right partners who can actually take you where you want to go. And not, you know, it's easier to have a streamlined process than a lot of plugins, especially when you get into, you know, all the different systems that are out there and available to you.
And Eric, you're coming at innovation on so many different fronts because of your different kind of business sectors.
Yeah.
So how has your company kind of embraced innovation and technology or fostered that culture?
Our company was started by a gentleman that came to the United States in 1993, and he was told by a friend that if he wanted to eat, go get a job at a restaurant. And so that's how we started. And he's a true entrepreneur, and I believe that you have sort of two types of entrepreneurs. You have the type that like to take control and hold law close to their vest and not let anybody do anything. And then on the other side of the spectrum, there's the people that let their folks be innovative and do and try new things and make mistakes. And that's a culture that he started with the company years ago. And we have hired the best people we possibly can, and we let them, not let them is not the right word, but we continue to try to foster exactly what Logan's talking about, which is no bad idea. There's no such thing as a bad or a stupid idea, right? We're willing to look at anything at any time, and especially during COVID, we learned that, you know, there's nothing that you can't think of. I mean, look at some of the restaurants that were full service that were selling steaks out their front doors, right? And so I think that, you know, they became small supermarkets. So I think that that's how that culture has been fostered. I would say that I didn't add this in before. One other front we're looking at on AI, and we're partnering. I can't talk about who the company is right now because they were in beta stage here, but we're also utilizing AI and machine learning to tackle our DoorDash, what I call the DoorDash problem. The DoorDash problem is
Which one?
Yeah, right. But the big one that we have, and I'm sure others here on the couch have the same problem. Many of you probably have the same problem as Dasher picks up. It could be, it doesn't matter. It's Uber Eats, whatever. They all have the same sort of process generally, right? Comes and picks up the food. They take it, they deliver it. This person says, I didn't get my Diet Coke. I reject my order, and they get all their money back, right? And so there's some companies out there that are trying to fight for you or help you fight for that. And this is something that was costing us millions of dollars, at least on paper. We don't know if it's really millions or not, but we think it's millions of dollars potentially.
Well, it definitely
a year.
feels
It's a
like
lot. It feels like a
like
ton.
millions,
Yeah,
right?
it feels like millions. And so we started working on that project ourselves, and we weren't very far along. And we had a partner of ours contact us and said, hey, we're looking at the same thing. And they are a tech company and we aren't. So we're partnering with them right now. And initial stages of that have panned out to be fantastic thus far. And they're, you know, our partnership with them is their plan is not to take some 40 or 50% of the money that they get. They want you to get the rest of it because they're not going to make their money off of this one service. They want you to get all their services. So that's another front that we're working on right now. But for us, it's about being innovative.
So it's almost like loss prevention in the restaurant industry.
You have to be creative and entrepreneurial to survive in the restaurant space. You have to recreate yourself constantly,
All
right?
the time.
Yeah.
So that brings me, you talked about this partner who came to you with a solution. So all of you guys have kind of launched these completely different AI projects. Did you all go with using third-party partners, or did any of you guys build it build these AI platforms yourselves? I'll start with Gracie.
So we partnered with a company to build out our app. So when we decided to go with loyalty, we had to build out an API that would integrate Punch with our app. So that actually took us a long time. Like it probably took us almost 12 months to get that project completed. So I think that was something that we really, weren't expecting. So we spent a year just getting it integrated. And then now we're just, trying to get your engagement up. You're trying to get every person signed up. So like you said, you have the data to start making it actionable.
And how did you choose that integration partner to link these two things together?
That's a great question. We had our app already built, and so we went with Punch, and they're like, we can work with it, So it just took development on their team, and we have our own internal IT department, and so they kind of oversaw the project. But if I was a smaller franchisee, you would really want to do your homework first because you need the support of other departments if you're going to deploy a project like that.
How about you, Logan?
I would I would say that for the vast majority of the things that we're working on, we are outsourcing to companies who are experts in those areas. We have a very talented in-house development team, software developers that handle the development of our website and our mobile app and all of our ordering platforms. We've got a really talented group of people that handle our back-end services. But when it comes to some of those more specialized technology products, we really allow the experts to be the experts and ensure that we can integrate seamlessly with them. And I think it's really important that you do your homework and find partners that you share an ethos with. Because when we're talking about AI and ethical AI and the changes to all of the policies around data privacy and the role, frankly, that AI is going to play in your space and in your company, you need to be very clear about what your goals are as an organization and make sure that you're partnering with companies that align with those goals and align with that vision.
So Eric, with all of your different,
Yeah.
you have a lot going on, man.
I don't. The people that work on the
And
team
your
do. I
company's
don't.
got a lot
I
going
just,
on.
I just
You just-
watch them work because
you just come to panels and
yeah,
chat about it.
I somehow I've been very, very good at hiring people way smarter than I could ever be. So it depends. So funny enough, one of my favorite stories, if you've ever heard it, is Herb Kelleher sits down at a bar with a glass of whiskey and writes the idea for Southwest on the back of a napkin. I don't know if that's really true or not.
It's a great
I never
story.
got that, but it's a great story, right? And so the partner we're working with, we already had the idea. We were working on it internally. Over a bottle of wine at a dinner, we figured out that, hey, they're doing this too, and why don't we just figure a way to partner together, right? And we can, maybe share in some of the profits. And so being entrepreneur, always said, hey, yeah, let's do it and see what happens. You're better at this than we are. Other than that, part of our outsourcing group is we have an office in India, and we were building up a business intelligence system, and we wanted to do that all in-house because third party, it's crazy expensive. And if you have an office in India already and you have smart people in the United States that can work well with them, right, you get the best of both worlds, right? And so the folks that are doing a lot of our data work in India and the people in our office, same story there. We're working on BI. And then I took my team out to dinner one night, told them to bring their spouses and significant others. And the one's boyfriend came in, and we just started chatting about what we're working on. And come to find out, he's a PhD in physics, hates physics, wanted to be a data scientist. And so, being a sort of a family-owned company or a private company, we don't have a lot of the same rules that some other companies do. So we hired him, and now he runs all of our data science projects and anything that we're doing there, whether it's BI or AI or machine learning, he's taking lead on all those projects, and that's what his expertise is in. And so we just watch the guy work. He's pretty smart.
Are they still together?
Yeah. I asked her. I won't.
guys all
I
wanted
won't
to
divulge names, but one of somebody from my team, and I caught her off guard. We went to her office. Said, "Hey, we really want to hire your boyfriend. Would that be a fate worse than death for you?" And she's like, "No, just don't put him in an office by me." And so they don't office anywhere near each other. In fact, I think he primarily works from home, and it's been great. And I'm not a big proponent of hiring significant others, but I mean, it works out in many industries, and for us, it's worked out very well.
I mean,
He's
that was
he's a
just a
great dude.
really fortunate happenstance. I don't think, most of us could
Not that
probably-
I'm saying that people should be out drinking, but with their team, but sometimes a bottle of wine and some good food and good conversation turns into, meaningful stuff. But we're entrepreneurial, so for us, we'll try just about anything, and if it works, and we think we can make some money off it, we either sell it or we'll try to package it up. And for us right now, we're just trying to do things that are right for ourselves, like many other companies do. And if it works for us and we can build a business out of it, we'll think about it. If not, we'll just continue doing it internally and go from there.
Well, all of you guys are kind of at the beginning of these projects. They're kind of newbie projects. Has there anything come out of these projects so far that you've been like, whoa, I didn't expect that? I'm going to start with you, Logan. Anything surprising?
I think one of the most surprising things, and for the technologists in the room, you're probably going to sit back and go, well, duh. But one of the biggest learning opportunities that we've had with the cross-functional team that I've been working with on a lot of these AI initiatives is that it starts off really dumb. And you've got to teach it basically everything. There's no, I think that you take for granted the intuitiveness and the split-second decision-making that happens innately with your people. And so you can't expect the technology to just know that out the gate. There's a lot of work that goes into the upfront teaching of the AI that you've got to be prepared for, and you've really got to dig in deep with those cross-functional stakeholders to really understand all of the areas where some of those split-second decisions are being made and have a clear expectation of what you want this thing to do so that you can measure success one way or the other, tweak things as you learn more, and help that machine learning model learn along the way. So I think that there was a little bit of an underestimation from a lot of folks in the business around, well, can't it just do this?
Yeah.
Well, it can't just do it out the gate. You've really got to put in the time and the cycles to understand what it is you want it to do, and then refine it along the way. It's never just done. It's always a learning process.
Tracy, were there any results from your initial part of the project that you were surprised to find?
I wouldn't say surprised. I think that, we have 260 stores. About 100 of those are franchise locations. We've been in business for a long time. So we had a lot of franchisees that maybe were not on the same POS system that we were on. So I think that was a challenge of just, making sure you had the corporate playbook for everyone who had the NCR POS system. And then you had to have a couple of other different playbooks for your franchisees who are maybe on a different system. And I think that was one of the things, for us that was, I wouldn't say wasn't a surprise, but it could be a little bit challenging when you're trying to roll something out and meet the needs of a diverse group with the system.
Okay, how about you, Eric?
So what was interesting to us, because the only thing we've really finished, or not really finished, gotten down the path on is about invoicing. And so we were shocked that it actually worked.
So you went into a project and you were surprised that your project worked?
Yeah, we're really very shocked. I mean, I'm by nature a pretty skeptical person, so.
It's like me and dating.
Yeah, right. I'm just really skeptical. So I always, I'm shocked when something works the way you want it to work. I think that was probably the biggest thing for us because what we were trying to do was we had, not to get you taken too far in the weeds, but we had over the course of 10 years, I think it was like something like $2.5 million. We bought a company. This person that worked for this company prior to us buying it was embezzling $200 at a time, millions of dollars worth, but it was $200 a shot. So when I first got on in 2019, this project was already done, and we had solved the controls to fix the problem. You still don't know. You're always still trying to figure it out. So our biggest thing was trying to find these repetitive transactions with vendors that didn't make sense. And so we were surprised when it started popping up exception reports that made us go, that vendor isn't a vendor that we normally would have that kind of transaction with. And it's sending us transaction reports to do that. And so we were really surprised that what we wanted to have happen, at least at the beginning, worked. Now, it's not perfect. And we haven't found any other fraud or embezzlement in our business, but that was what we were initially looking for. The first time we started using AI and machine learning was that. And it was popping up things that we had seen that data across our businesses and our different entities, we probably would have said, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Why that one vendor's constantly charging us $100? Who is this vendor? Now, they ended up being so far, they've all been legit. But this other person that had been embezzling money, they were doing a $200 invoice at a time and just sending invoices to different AP folks and all sorts of things. And it's just one of those horrible stories that the person gets caught, they get sued, they've spent all the money gambling, but we didn't want that to happen again. And we were surprised it worked.
I'm kind of speechless over that, and awesome that that person doesn't work for you anymore.
Yeah.
So congrats on that project not working. So Arun, are you ever, as you go through these projects with clients, have you ever seen something from a data perspective that you were either surprised at or surprised the client with?
Yes, indeed, actually. So we were building this recommendation system for one of the world's largest brands out there, and it's in restaurant. And typically, recommendation systems, as it is known before, works in a certain way. To Logan's point, it requires a lot of pre-learning. But when we looked at the problem, it's like there's not a lot of learning possible because there's a lot of historical actions, labeled actions available. So we took a totally different approach to building in algorithmically, and what we call it as in tech terms, it's called reinforcement learning. And I had a background in machine learning for the last 10 years, and I've worked in a lot of recommendation personalization systems before. So it was kind of an experiment. There was an intuition that maybe it should work. But at the end of the day, when we delivered it, it's a continually learning system. So on the day one, it does not learn anything. It does not know anything. It learns from its failures continually every day. So once we released it, we were lagging behind an existing, competing system which was already developed in-house. But as time progressed, after 6, 7, 1 year down the line, the revenue coming from the system is like almost 80 to 90% better than what it was before. So we kind of almost doubled the revenue and KPIs. So it was not a surprise, but it was something which we tried, which didn't try before, which was not known before or tried before, that particular approach.
So the client must have been thrilled.
So now it's powering like billions of recommendations a day for the 20 million customers, 3 to 4 million recommendations every day, and increasing the ticket size and KPIs.
That was a successful accident.
It was not an accident. It is like trying something which was not done before, but you have an idea that this should work. But it's a little bit revolutionary. It's like a surgeon trying something different. He knows that nothing else will work. Okay, let me try something different. That's kind of what it was.
I sat in on a panel yesterday, and I think I wish I could remember who said it, but you can't change what you can't measure. And so having that data and being able to understand where those areas of opportunity exist is so critical. We had something similar happen in a pilot that we're running in Cleveland right now with contextual restaurant experience, and this is location-based technology coupled with real-time data from the restaurant that helps us identify app users' intent when they arrive on site at the restaurant, and then deliver them contextual and informative messaging that helps kind of reduce friction on that journey. We had a hypothesis, at least, around some of our restaurants being located in real close proximity to one another. And we were seeing refunds due to pickup order cancellations. This is really curious for us because we actually don't have an avenue for you to cancel a digital order once it's placed. So what is this? What's going on here? And our hypothesis was that people were actually going to the wrong location to pick up a digital order that they actually placed at a different location. And it wasn't until we started piloting this arrival detection technology and this contextual restaurant experience, for which we partnered with Flyby to build out a customized experience specifically for wrong location to detect somebody crossing a geofence of a location that was not where they placed their order. We are actually able to measure the frequency in this market of how often that's happening by who's actually receiving these messages. And because of this messaging, you plot the data points, we saw almost an immediate 15% drop in refunds due to pickup order cancellations when we started delivering this contextual messaging.
How big an issue was, without being specific, how big an issue was going to the wrong place? I mean, I do it all the time in my personal life.
Yeah. It definitely happens, and in the Cleveland market, we're able to quantify that a little bit better. Obviously, this program that contextual restaurant experience requires some level of opt-in, so it's a good proxy for the Cleveland market on the whole, but it's only reaching the subset of customers that have opted into location sharing. But I think that it really empowered us to obviously create this safety net experience to catch you as soon as you enter the parking lot and try to salvage that experience. But it also empowered us to have conversations with our mobile app developers and our mobile app product team to say, hey, are there ways that we can catch this earlier in the ordering experience and save people that negative experience downstream, even if we are able to catch them with this message. So I think that's, again, you can't change what you can't measure. So having those data points really informs other decision making and other conversations for enhancing the experience.
So I want to pivot a little bit because you just touched on something, the fact that somebody had to opt in to receive this messaging and to be tracked by the app and all of that. So I want to make sure I get this right. But last week, the Biden administration proposed the AI Bill of Rights, which, P.S., we're a little bit behind the rest of the world, specifically Europe, which outlines 5 protections Americans should have in the AI age, including data privacy, the right to be protected from unsafe systems, assurances that algorithms shouldn't be discriminatory, and that there will always be a human alternative. So is there ever, first of all, what do you guys think about the fact that this is finally coming to fruition? But is there ever too much data? Have we crossed a line into creepy at all? And what are your thoughts on all of this?
I would say if you're on social media, we've definitely crossed the lines of creepy. I mean, I know one day I was at the office and I'm getting ready to head home and my phone is like, it's going to take you 25 minutes. And I'm like, how does my phone even know that I'm about to leave the office? Like, there's a lot of things out there with AI that I think can be creepy if the information is not used appropriately. I would say, at our company, we definitely guard the information, and, email address it's private information in our company. Like, you want to make sure that you know, you're handling it, you're protecting it, your marketing team is the only one doing outreach. You know, we'll even have some franchisees who will say, hey, I want my list, you know, I want to market to them. And, you know, the relationship is, you know, with Jason's Deli and, you know, the customer is signing up for Jason's Deli emails. So I do think, especially in the day and age of text messaging and stuff like that, I think sometimes it can appear as though maybe sometimes you're crossing a line or that you're overstepping a bit if you're not careful.
I'm one of those people that I don't get bothered by that stuff.
I'm not shocked by this.
Yeah, I think that, you know, I was at Disney World for the last 4 days, and I think that I know they've got to be using AI. I'm sure they are,
100%.
right? I mean, we would never register to get the pictures on our phones, but magically through either facial recognition or a connection to your Magic Band, they would end up there. They knew where you're at all times. Like, I think that while I am fundamentally skeptical, I don't really do anything wrong in my life. So I'm not really worried about like the FBI coming and tearing me down, right? And so I think that, you know, I think life for me is too short to think about those things. And yes, there is some stuff that's creepy. If I'm talking on my phone, Amazon knows what I'm talking about. But on the other hand, you know, if I wanted a bike, it was showing up on my phone. So at least I didn't have to go look for it. I just don't, I know there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of like viewpoints that they don't want Big Brother watching over them. But I think it's incumbent on, you know, whether it be the government or the people to not end up in the book 1984, right? And I think that there's got to be some protections that are in place to protect the people, so it doesn't go too far. I'm sure at some point it could, but right now I'm not really worried about that kind of stuff. I don't expect anybody coming and barricading down my door for something I've done. So if you don't have anything to hide, why do you really? I mean, this is my opinion, by the way. If I don't have anything to hide, so I really don't care. Just, you know, don't steal my credit card number.
Did you buy the pictures?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time we do. We're
So
idiots like that. It's okay.
Walt in his cryogenic chamber somewhere. It
Yeah.
worked.
I think it's fascinating. I'm fascinated by tech. I'm not a tech. I love tech, but I can't talk much about it because I'm just not intelligent enough to do it. But that was, to me, that was fascinating. We go through like Walt Disney World and like they sort of know everything about you. Like every 3 or 4 months, because I never thought I'd be a Disney World person. My entire family is. My 15-year-old daughter still loves it, right? And we thought we'd be that family, but every 3 months something pops up on my phone telling me, hey, you should go here next year. And we're a sucker, so we do it. But I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think that we've gone too far yet. I think where things have gone too far from an AI perspective is media targeting. I think that's where things have gone too far. Not to get political here, and I'm not going to get political, but there's a lot of AI that does media targeting out there. I think that is problematic. I think what we're doing to sell people stuff or get people the right customer stuff, I don't think that stuff's problematic. But I am worried about, from that AI Bill of Rights, I think I am worried about media targeting, because what they do is they find if you could be, I read an article the other day about somebody whose grandfather was watching, you know, he was on, or father or something was consistently watching, he's religious, so he's watching sort of church stuff on YouTube and whatever. Next thing you know, he's being driven towards a specific kind of media that sort of, and that drove this person who had sort of standard middle of the road opinions his entire life to go down one alley. I think that's where this stuff gets a little dangerous.
Yeah, incredibly dicey.
Yeah, I don't think in our world,
Yeah.
personally, I don't think it's too dangerous.
Okay. How about you, Logan?
I think that there's, as long as the source sees value in what you're delivering in exchange for that data, and you as a company are being transparent and open about how you are using that data and have the appropriate steps in place to dispose of that data appropriately, That's something that we have an entire team, security and legal team, advising us on how best to handle customer data and make sure that we're storing it appropriately, that we're disposing of the right data as requested appropriately. But I'm like you. I like the targeted Instagram ads.
I think they're great.
Like, if I don't have to, if it creates value in my life and a convenience and an ease, then that's, personally speaking, not something that I'm too concerned about. And that's really the challenge, I think, for any organization, is to understand that personal data is a level of currency to some degree. And so what are you getting in exchange for your personal data? As long as you are finding that valuable, and you as a company are not using that in a nefarious way, then I don't think we have anything to worry about.
So Runa, I want to ask you the same question as somebody who spends all day knee-deep in data. Is there too much data? Have we gone too far?
No, I think I'm going with what Logan just said. So coming to that creepy part, if I'm in a dark room and I'm sleeping there and the door just opens, I'll see it as creepy. But if I know there is wind blowing outside, then I have an explanation for that. So once customers know why they have been targeted, and if we have been transparent about it, and if it's useful for them, they're okay with that. It's not creepy anymore. Secondly, that it becomes creepy if the data is being used nefariously without my permission to make myself as a utility. Once we pass these two stages, I think, and as 5 years before, if I suggest do a facial recognition, that would have been totally creepy. Now people are okay with that because a lot of times I can log into many apps, my face detection, I'm getting used to that. So that adoption and the fact that it's coming and people are getting used to that, a lot of the creepiness will go out of it. I think as long as we ensure that it's used in a useful way to the person and it's justified, people are okay with that. But no, not in a nefarious way. And to the other question is there's something called too much of data? No, actually, there's never too much of data.
I had a hunch you were gonna say that.
I mean, yeah, too much of data is good. You can better utilize it.
I think the interesting thing, and I don't know who agrees with me, but is the most expensive customer is not the customer that you have to win. It's the customer that you have to win back, right? Because they left.
Absolutely.
And so, I think we can all be honest with each other that the labor environment continues to get more challenging. And we have to learn to do more with less. Not because we can't just find employees, it's just because you can't afford to pay the employees without raising your prices to such a level that you're paying, for a Chipotle burrito, you're paying the same price you'd pay for a Del Frisco's Double Eagle steak, right? Like the amount of cost of labor in the business today is astounding. And everybody wants us to raise wages, but the reality is that all of our costs are raising on all fronts. And our taxes are going up, and there's lots of things that we have to deal with as operators. And for us, one of the things we're trying to do is we're not trying to take people out, we're just trying to figure out how to do things that you can do either automatically or find more efficient ways to do it without having to staff that employee, because if you have to spend more on them, you want to get more value or more productivity out of that dollar that you're spending, because it's a penny business. And I'm sure most of the folks in the room that are involved in the restaurant space here are in that same penny business. And for us, that's one of the things that we're finding a challenge at every day.
Yeah, I have a client who loves automation because he can say to franchisees, you can do something without doing anything, because it's a set it and forget it. That's how he describes automation. Well, thank you guys. I'm gonna stop talking and bring it up to the audience. Do you guys have any questions for our esteemed panel today? Anything you want to know? Anything you want to
All right, I guess I'll ask one. And this is for Arun and I think the three panelists as well. Because Arun, I think you said it, that you can't have enough data, right? a lot of data is good. And you're really getting down to the granular, like one-to-one personalized messaging. So if I get on these person's app and I'm ordering, you have to know, or you're going to start to erode these brands. If I'm a vegetarian and you're suggesting a chicken burrito or a pastrami or a meat lover's pizza, I mean, how do you know that I'm ordering through these apps and I'm a vegetarian? You should only be proposing to me rather than a mass email. You're trying to get personal, that to know that I'm a vegetarian and you shouldn't be, again, pushing meatless options.
Good question. So the personalization algorithm, they have different observations about each purchases. So you can, like different viewpoint. One viewpoint could be, vegetarian, non-vegetarian, whether the person likes dairy or whether he's a protein lover, or what particular food in what day part he likes. So the algorithm is building its confidence in its belief that this person is vegetarian or not over a period of time. So once it sees that, okay, you are in a category where it is vegetarian and non-vegetarian food are there equally or distributed, and the more it sees that you're only sticking to a non-vegetarian thing, then it will start concluding that you're more of a non-vegetarian, or the vice versa. If it keep observing that, out of 10 purchases where you could have purchased both a vegetarian and non-vegetarian, you purchased only a vegetarian. So that confidence keeps on increasing. So at every point, it's building a confidence, and with continual observation. So vegetarian and non-vegetarian could be one observation, but it could also be looking at other aspects, other characteristics. It could be, is this person a dairy loving, like he always drinks a coffee with milk or not? That could be one thing. Or whether he is a coffee or so you can create different viewpoints of observations, and then the algorithm is building confidence in every aspect of the customer behavior over a period of time. That's how it knows.
You would also compare it to other people who bought the same item and what's their behavior. So if I'm a new customer buying a vegetarian dish, and I already have 5,000 customers buying a vegetarian dish, what do those people do to inform what the new person is going to do, right?
That's right. That's right.
We're doing that actual work in the background for Bella Green. Bella Green is a 8-unit concept that we just acquired recently. Had a fantastic loyalty program. I'd put it up with almost anybody, any of the big players out there, and invested a lot of cash into it. So one of the things we're doing right now is that brand is a chef-driven concept, but it's driven towards healthier for you. And so it has a lot of gluten-free, keto, lots of dietary restriction type foods. And that's what we're learning right now. So what do you normally order? What demographics have you put into the app? What do other people that order similar things to you order along with that product? So that we have not launched this yet, but we're testing the data in the background to launch on the app, specific targeted offers towards you, or advertise certain things towards you, or different menu items that you haven't eaten that also fit within your dietary restrictions. So if you always come in and get the gluten-free pizza or a gluten-free sandwich or gluten-free lemon poppy seed pancakes, we're going to try to suggest to you that you come in and you try something different. If you're coming in and eating lots of organic type stuff, we try to entice you with organic wines, right, to get you to buy something else. So that's the data we're working on in the background for that specific brand to try to do that, which is exactly what we're talking about. But it's all the data points are there, and to the extent that if your app includes demographic data that you're physically having them put in, that's just another data point that they know as well.
And I think it's helpful not only on the B2C side of things, but also on the B2B side of your business. It gives you a lot of insight of like, okay, here's all of my customers. Which of these customers have never ordered breakfast? Or, when people get off their buying cycles, you can catch them a lot quicker than just doing a 90-day lapse list. You know exactly when they've fallen off of their buying cycle, so you're able to serve them with the message at the right time. So I do think it helps not only on the B2B, there's a lot of advantages, but also if you have a dual business of catering and in-store, there's a lot of great insight it can give you on the sales side of things.
I would just add, and again, this is my perspective, but I don't necessarily think that more data, the better. If that data is not actionable, then it's useless data. So data for the sake of data, that's where, again, I think going back to what problem are you trying to solve, what opportunity do you really have, getting clear on personalization journeys, and what you specifically are wanting to drive through that personalization is really important to help identify what data points you need, so that you can make sure that you're acquiring the right data for the action that you are trying to drive.
That's very right.
Yeah, it all takes resources too. I know everybody wants to be Starbucks for sure.
Yeah, that was actually one of my next questions was, we're talking about all of these projects, and you guys are all from kind of, compared to the brands that I handle, substantially sized brands. And so even in these smaller brands, we have all of these data touch points. But what we don't have is the human resources to make this data actionable. So that means that the fractional CMO is at 3 o'clock in the morning, crunching numbers, doing it very manually. And so did you guys have to staff up with human resources to make these projects kind of be actionable or come to life?
We did on our end. I mean, like Logan was saying, you're going to have to build out journeys. You're going to have to bucket the customers. You definitely have to have a team of people who are going to take this data and work with it. I know something that we've done that's always been helpful is crawl, walk, run. Like, you can have a Mercedes, but if you don't know how to work it, it's really not doing you any more good than the Ford. Like, you really need to have a system that meets you where you're at from a resource, not only just people, but financially. And what are you really ready to do? What can you really execute well and make your decisions more based that way versus trying to get the top of the line and I'm going to be Starbucks and I'm going to have gamification. You can get there, but you definitely have to work through the system and build up your resources in order to do that.
That's exactly right, Gracie. And having that North Star vision of where you want to go is really important so that you can lay the right foundation to get there. And I love the crawl, walk, run. We deal in MVP and the minimum viable product approach, where we get something out that we can test, that we can learn from, and continue to iterate. So we handle things in less of a project-driven approach and more of a product-driven approach, where it lives on in perpetuity and we continue to iterate and change it instead of just, it's launched, okay, now what's next? So that's I think, a different way that we're approaching things in that product mindset that really sets us up to achieve that longer term vision, and continue to have that prioritization cycle, because you continue to iterate on that product instead of it just going live and then you shift.
We view things on a return on investment basis. So each year during our annual planning session, we determine what goals we have for the next year and the things that are outside of the box that we want to think about doing and what those carrying costs would be. And then we sort of look out 3 to 4 years on the runway on that and what would need to happen for us to both recoup our investment and get a return on that investment. Not everything strikes gold, right? I don't think we've struck gold yet, but that's how we look at it. And so we got together about 2 years ago and said, we want to start investing in technology and more into business intelligence, and that was going to lead us into AI and machine learning, and we were going to staff up both domestically and overseas to make that happen. And we sort of put a number of what we needed to be able to do in our businesses to be able to pay for that cost and get a return on that investment, and that's how we've looked at it. And we're about 2 years into that cycle for us, and we'll know sort of at the end of next year whether we're going to continue with it or walk it.
So being very disciplined and strategic about these projects as you come on.
Not individual. We just said that we wanted to look at this, and now that's when we said, okay, well, once we've decided to make the decision to go forward, then the projects come along from that. We just keep thinking in that vein, spending money there.
Got it. Yeah.
Go ahead. Did you complete?
Nope.
Yeah. So to Logan's point, what happens is that as you grow, sometimes it is good to have small but very pinpointed data. What happens as you keep growing, your data lake keeps on growing, it becomes messy, no one knows what it is, where. Then at that point, for your first job is to structure the data so that it's actionable. But when you're small, you have uniformity of data because let's say you're working with a certain POS system. That POS system gives you the same data every day in same format. You know, that's what exactly it is. That's not the case when you grow big. So it's, yeah, so I'm saying that the advantage of being small and sometimes less data is that by default, it tends to be most of it actionable. Versus once you grow big, it's terabytes and terabytes of data out there. And you're like trying to figure out how do I connect the dots, right?
Well, thank you guys. We're a little bit over. Thank you guys all for coming. And that's it for today.